3 o'clock on this Friday afternoon. Welcome aboard the Postgame Show alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. We are both in downtown Columbia's Herndon Chevy Studios. We had a contingency plan. We were going to be working today regardless. But we had a contingency plan where I may have been working remotely like the old COVID days, which would have meant that Elijah would have come in to do, all the heavy lifting, which he really is doing. I mean, the good news is when I'm here, it's about a 70-30 lift. But if I wasn't here, it'd be more like 95-5. And I didn't want to do that to Elijah Campbell.
That's why my back hurts so damn bad.
That's right. Well, you need to wear one of those.
Because I don't lift with my legs.
Yeah, wear one of those weight belts.
Too much with my back, and that's more of a me problem.
Yeah, it is.
I assume.
It is. A lot of you find in life that most problems we have are actually me problems that we don't want to admit. Except for me, all of my problems are indeed the fault of others. But that's a topic for another show. Anyway, so we're here. Here in the city, it's fine. It's wet, it's cold, but it's fine. Now, for those of you in the outlying areas of Lexington County, northern Richland, those of you in Fairfield, other spots, you folks that live around Cedar Creek where it always seems to be 10 degrees colder, all right, you're in a different boat. So just, you don't need to be out there. And like I said, seriously, there was some dude in a little Mitsubishi something or other coming with me up Gervais Street. And I guess, I don't know if his wife was having a baby.
That's the only excuse I will allow.
If he knew his burglar alarm was going off.
He left the stove on.
Something, but he decided that he really needed to be going about 50. And this happens every time. I was telling you, last time we had one of these, we've been in this building now for about 10 years-ish. We've had a couple of these ice situations, And a couple of blocks away last time, I watched, I won't say like this massive pileup, right? But I watched 3 cars get into an incident because one dude was out there driving like, it was a beautiful April afternoon. And it wasn't.
You got to have a change up for this. You got to have a change up for these situations.
Do, man. And I will both... I can do this because, and not to say that you couldn't, Elijah. You've been here a couple of years now.
2 years in as of today.
A lot of really?
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
I think the day I moved to Columbia, South Carolina was either January 10th or 11th. What was the day after the Georgia TCU tail kicking in the title game? Whatever that next day
January
was.
Something.
Whatever that next day was.
Yeah,
was when I moved here.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to listen. A lot of folks now. You're from Tennessee, so you're not from up north.
No.
But folks that are from up north, like a lot of the kids that go to Carolina from Connecticut or New York or Jersey or something, you guys can't drive in the snow. Well, no bleep, Sherlock, because we don't get any.
Hard to drive in something that you don't get practice with.
And I've been saying this for years and years in my life. We don't get any. That being said, I am from here, and so when it happens, you just got to go slower. I know you don't want to, yes, but you just have to, and you can't ride your brake.
No.
Don't ride the brake. Yeah, that's the worst thing you can do.
That brake pedal is not always your friend.
It's not your friend.
Do not slam. You slam on that thing, you're going to find out how good of an ice skater your car is.
So you've been to my house, and near my house is a 4-way stop. And one day at the same time that I saw this one right here downtown, okay, I'm going to my house, and my house is a few houses away from said 4-way stop. So I'm going 8. And a dude comes up from another direction at the 4-way, and he's going, my road is a 30-mile-an-hour road. I'm going to say he's going 25. Now, I got to turn into my driveway a few houses away from the 4-way stop. So, again, I'm going really slow because it was way worse than what's going on right now. My next-door neighbors have this little, it's not a hill, obviously, but they've got, their yard is sloped just enough, and there's no frontage. It's just the road and then, some of their yard. And my man, basically has to drive into the yard because he's going so fast, he's tailgating me, and I got my blinker on. I'm like, dude, I could have told you that was what was going to happen. So in terms of riding the brake. So in other words, just slow down, be careful if you don't have to be out. And I know a lot of you know this, but it's always that other guy. Again, the guy in the white Mitsubishi who turned onto somewhere near campus just now. I'm like, all right, I'm glad you needed to go 50 down Gervais so you could turn left into the neighborhood.
Yeah, even if it's not quote unquote that bad, does not give you an invitation to haul ass.
Yeah,
it's not. That's not an open invitation.
Now, are some of my favorite Friday night restaurants going to be open tonight? Like, that's a rhetorical question. Do I call them when I leave? Am I going to be the only one in there?
Always call just in case.
Yeah, because Friday night is typically when we like to go out and just kind of, celebrate the end of the week. And I've got a couple of places in mind that I haven't been since like before Christmas because everybody was home or we just didn't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'd kind of like to go do that. But is that selfish?
No.
Okay.
I mean, if it's open, it's there. And like, look, in downtown again, it's not as bad, thankfully, as of right now. Knock on wood or whatever you have around you that would be stereotypically coded for good luck. But still, if they're open and it's not that bad, don't feel bad going.
Okay.
They need business too. If anything, you're helping.
Well,
them
I was going to say, if they're open,
if anything,
then I want to go spend money with them, right?
Giving them business on a slow day helps them out.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. I've
been mentally mapping out in my head the ways, how I get home, the easiest in and out spot.
Yeah.
I don't feel like cooking tonight. I don't feel like it. But, so I kind of want to pick something up. So I'm mentally mapping that out.
That's smart. I may do the same.
I'm going to pick food up, go home.
I was thinking I'm pointing behind the State House on South Main. There's a Domino's.
Ooh, there is. Yes.
And I'm wondering if I don't
pizza from there a lot.
Just call that Domino's and get a pickup order.
Oh, that's smart. Or use the app. I have the app on my phone.
Well, I have the app as well.
I might do that.
I don't know.
You might have me tailgating you.
There's actually a
get that.
couple of more local pizza establishments that I would prefer, with all due respect, to the national delivery chain.
Domino's is delicious.
I don't want one of my favorite people calling me right now because I know he listens a lot and going, "What did you just say?" And then he'll come in here and want to beat me up.
Yeah,
I don't need that. I don't need that. There's a reason he's called the Godfather.
Yeah, because you don't want to mess around and find out why. So, wake up with a horse head in your bed.
I don't need that.
You don't.
I don't need that.
You really don't.
I don't know. How you doing? What a game last night, man.
Dude, that
seriously
was awesome.
It was
awesome.
I don't know if I could have scripted something that was more entertaining. I really don't. I really because it wasn't one of those games where it was just like a shootout, like 49-45 or something crazy. Mm-hmm. And the build up to all the scoring came like we were talking about the over under yesterday. I was like, there's no way that over's hitting. And it was 44.5. And then I was telling you, like, somebody's going to hit the super under here and make like a lot of money. Like somebody out in Vegas said, like, hey, I don't want your 44.5. Give me 38.5, and I'll still take your under.
Yeah,
I'll still take your under. And for a while, I was like, this game's going to be 13-10, and then it wasn't. But it was phenomenal. Penn State. I can't say. A lot of people this morning and into the afternoon have said, man, Penn State's a better team. On the lines of scrimmage, probably a smidge better.
Yeah, I think I can concede that. Yeah.
The thing that really I realized it during the game because McElroy had brought it up. And by the way, I love that combo. I know McElroy took some heat for the touchdown thing late when he was like, they don't need to score a touchdown here. I'm like, bro, if I got a wide open lane to the end zone, I'm scoring a touchdown.
I thought the same thing. I was like, I know what he meant. For it.
I know what he meant.
You don't want to score too fast. I'm like, but you also want to score.
Well, you want to score because there's no guarantee, even if you're kicking like Jeter had that short little kick. But even if you're kicking from the 5, you can still miss it.
It can still get blocked.
I mean, Carolina fans know that Missouri kicker back in 2013 in their place, like all he had. I mean, you could have gone and blown the ball through, and he still missed it,
dude. That's a pet peeve, like a broadcasting pet peeve of mine. It's just don't want to score too quick here. No, forget that, buddy. You need to score.
Yeah, you just need
you just need to score, and that's what your defense is for, is keeping the other team from scoring afterwards.
But it was, I mean, the way it all went down like that. Listen, the point is, people are really giving it to Penn State, and James Franklin. But what I was going to lead up to is, a wide receiver, is this correct? A wide receiver for Penn State did not catch pass
Correct.
last night. Now, let me go big picture to come back to small picture of last night's game. Because guys like you and me and fans across the country have talked, like, what is it with Penn State? Why do they get so close? I think it's things like that. They don't have that difference maker. And sometimes you just got to have it. You know, listen, when Saban, when they reemerged at their second peak, if you will, that team was loaded with NFL wide receivers.
It was a wide receiving factory.
Ohio State is loaded with NFL wide receivers.
Wide receiver factory.
Southern California for years, loaded with NFL wide receivers. Georgia for a long time. Now, I mean, I look at what Bowers and McConkey are doing and what you don't have at Georgia this year as a prime example, right?
Yeah.
And that's just the most recent. But that's it. Like, hey, and I'm not saying, oh, if you have an elite receiver, you win the game last night. But maybe you do.
Well, maybe you don't settle for any field goals. Maybe, you don't settle for a field goal in the first quarter. Maybe you, on that last, or the drive before their last one, you're able to stretch the field a little bit. It allows your offense to do a whole lot more. Notice Penn State played a lot of underneath because that Notre Dame pass rush was getting home, and they were sending a lot of guys. They were blitzing a ton, as they do. It worked for a while, but they could not take the top off of that Notre Dame defense, and that will limit the amount of times you're able to score, even if you do move the ball efficiently. And I think Penn State, for the most part, moved relatively efficiently, even without a receiver making a catch.
Yeah,
in that game.
They did because they could run. I'm not here, and I don't think others are either. But it is a thing.
Oh, certainly.
And is that the next little bit for Penn State in the recruiting realm to go out and get one of those dudes, whether they're at a school right now, whether you just get one in through recruiting
or just retaining them. I mean, They would have loved to have had Keandre Lambert-Smith, who is now playing for Auburn and was Auburn's best, one of their two best receivers.
Well, and again,
would have loved to have had him.
Why are you
night.
leaving Penn State for Auburn unless it was money?
Well, Hugh Freeze provides a lot of money. He's good at that.
Yeah, I get it. But anyway, listen, congrats to Notre Dame. I don't know if there's mixed feelings around Mitch Jeter or not.
I don't think there should be.
I mean, look, he got his degree. He had a good run here in Columbia, and what a great opportunity as a college graduate. I got no problems with it.
Yeah, it's not like he's from South Carolina.
No, well, he's from North Carolina, but it's but I know something. I wish he was still here. I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. But again, he got his degree.
He's good.
Yeah, he did what he needed to do at South Carolina. And and I know Duke fans may feel the same way about Leonard. But again, same boat. So, but just a heck of a game. I hope we get something similar tonight. I don't know that we can get a game that good tonight.
Yeah, it'd be hard to top. I mean, I'll go ahead and read you the tweet I sent you this morning from OptaStats. This is remarkable. This is a tweet from OptaStats. Tonight marks the only time this century that there were 5 game-tying or go-ahead scores, multiple interceptions, a 50-plus yard touchdown, a game-winning field goal in the last 10 seconds, all in the fourth quarter of any single FBS or NFL game out of more than 25,000 total games this century. That game was one in its own. So to ask for that tonight is asking for a lot. This is the only type of game where this has happened out of 25,000 games in the NFL and FCS. 25,000. And this is the only one that we had all of that stuff happen in a fourth quarter.
That is 0.00004%.
So you're saying there's a chance that we get it tonight? Technically, yes, because that's above zeros across the board.
0.00004%.
If that happens again tonight,
and you
Texas
said more
and Ohio
than
State,
you said more than 25,000. So that's just at 20. That's 1 divided by 25,000.
Yes, we're talking getting mauled by polar bear and grizzly bear in same day odds.
As we hit the break, we'll come back with more of this. Yes, the Godfather texted me one word, dude.
He's gonna kick your ass.
That's not good.
It was nice knowing you.
That's not good.
It was nice knowing you.
You're listening, hopefully, to Not the Last Postgame Show.
Good luck.
Wow, speaking of Pro Swing, I want to tell you about my great friends at Integrated Media because, they also do Pro Swing. So whether listen, how'd you watch last night's game? Did you say, man, I was at my brother-in-law's place or my buddy's place or my uncle's place over the holidays, and I love their setup? Or you said, can I do something similar to my favorite sports bar's setup? Like, can I have multiple TVs in my game room or in my frog or my man cave? Here's the answer, yes. Yes, but you go, well, I don't want to do that myself, right? I don't want to do it wrong. No, you don't. That's why you call Integrated Media. Watch everything you watch better than ever. Listen to it better than ever. And soon enough, unlike today, you can take these things outside, too, with an amazing outdoor system. Just call them up. Resolve to watch things better. 803-948-8327. My great friends at Integrated Media. Langston Moore joining us in just a second here on the program. Jay and Elijah with you. Welcome back in wherever you might be. Appreciate you being with us. Just going over some very troubling breaking news. This from our good friend Matt Moscona, afternoon host at ESPN Radio Baton Rouge / New Orleans. Former LSU wide receiver Kyron Lacy is wanted on charges of negligent homicide and felony hit and run. Louisiana State Police have issued the warrant for his arrest in relation to a deadly crash allegedly occurring on December 17th. Let me get a little bit more on this here. Okay. Per WFAB, it crossed the center line and collided head-on with a southbound Kia Sorrento. Following the crash, Lacy drove around the crash scene and fled south on Louisiana Highway 20 without stopping to render aid, call emergency support. Wait, hang on here. Sorry. Around the crash, fled south without stopping to render aid, call emergency service, or report his involvement. In the crash. I had a little issue here with my computer. A 78-year-old man who was a passenger in the Kia later died from injuries at a hospital. Yikes. That's all we have at this point. Matt put this out. Elijah just sent me this. Matt put this out about a half hour ago.
That's terrible news.
Yeah. So we'll keep an update on that one. Keep a watch and get you updated on that one should the situation arise. Whew. Okay. And look, I try to segue around things like this, but
there's none. There is no segue.
Please be careful.
Yeah. In a car, snowing or not.
Yeah, just please be careful, right? And be a good person to others. All right, I'm going to take a 3-second pause. All right, there we go. I have no way to reset these things.
There is none. You just have to acknowledge that there is none.
Yeah. It is always a pleasure, as we move on, to welcome our good friend Langston Moore onto the program. He is in the Dallas Metroplex, where here is not so bad. Out your way. Now, I'm told, sir, there's a really big football game tonight. Are people going to be able to go? How closed down is the Dallas Metroplex?
It's not closed down for that. So, we had this on the schedule, talking about football fans, college football fans, playoffs, all that different things. So weather be damned. Forget your little Farmer's Almanac and all the weather stuff. We're going to figure out a way to salt this road or use some chicken grease or something to get these pathways open at Jerry's World, because there will be a football game tonight. And I'm sure, if you're an Ohio State fan, this is typical Columbus weather for you. You're like, man, this is nothing. This is spring game weather. So, all in all, it's all about safety first, of course, all those different things. But there will be a game played tonight. It will be cold, and luckily the game is indoors, so none of this stuff will matter.
Yeah, I even saw Chris Fowler saying that unlike some domes, I didn't know this, Jerry World is fully air-conditioned and or heated, so it'll be nice and comfortable in there. We'll come back around to that one and to the NFL weekend. But, I think we, as a sporting public these days, maybe often overuse the term instant classic. But I will have to say that last night lives up to that billing. That was a tremendous football game.
Tremendous football game. And I just kept thinking, everybody's been I know Nick Saban's been removed, and we're getting more and more separation from him actually being on the sideline as a football guy, and the product that he put out at Alabama for all those years and all the championships, to him being a broadcaster now. So we're getting more and more comfortable. But when I watch Notre Dame, especially this iteration of Notre Dame, the last 4 or 5 weeks, no championship game needed or anything. This is the closest thing we as college football people are going to get to, minus your team going to the playoffs, so the Gamecocks are out. Your other team, you're like, oh, that looks like Alabama. That looks like something I'm familiar with. And when I look at this Notre Dame team, how they win, the attitude, and then those jerky boy Golden Dome helmets who used to irk me back in the day. I remember sitting with my old man it's whoever's playing against Notre Dame. We just hope Boston College beats them or something and it happens. But that narrative has shifted. The Notre Dame narrative feels like it's shifted. The identity of this team, even from a few years ago when they had Manti Te'o and going into a national championship game against Alabama, where this team is at right now. I know it was a very close game. I knew James Franklin would have messed it up or whatever. That's not his fault what happened. Interception, quarterbacks, players play, coaches coach. But this Notre Dame team feels like the closest thing, the closest iteration to a traditional SEC team, a traditional, like what I'm used to the last 4 or 5 years before we had this 12-team college playoff series. And I just take my hat off to the Notre Dame team. And I'm really excited about the next game because I think it's going to be a great matchup, whether it's the Texas Longhorns or Ohio State and the 20,000 first-round wide receivers they got at that position. So it was definitely an exciting game, but the product, the care, and just all the little storylines behind it. The Notre Dame story, I'm not trying to be too much of like, oh, man, this is a really touching thing, but I think I'm kind of pulling for those guys to do it because they have been winning it that traditional way. Defense, in the trenches, turnovers, not even blinking with the interceptions and all those different things. That last fourth quarter last night, Jay, was like, woo.
Oh,
okay, I thought this was just going to be like a rock fight.
You can't script it to be as entertaining as it was. Even in a loss, as a defensive lineman, I know it's not your exact position, but do you shed little tears of happiness when you watch a young man like Abdul Carter just dominate a game?
I mean, with one arm, but like there was a part of me like, man, y'all hadn't figured out, man, like, run either. So when it's not a passing down, run right at him. So he got to throw that other little arm out there to protect himself or he's going to get rolled up. But phenomenal job of Penn State figuring out different ways to utilize that wealth of defensive linemen. Abdul Carter out there just getting sack after sack. And every time I kind of like looked up, I was like, hold up, did they say another sack? Yeah. Oh, man. So phenomenal job across the board because Notre Dame uses their quarterback to run the football more than anybody. I mean, this dude had almost 800, 900 yards rushing on the season. Who is this, Joe Hamilton?
Yeah, he did kind of look like that at times, no question. When you made a great point. Marcus Freeman has made Notre Dame likable, and that's something that maybe a lot of people didn't think about. So who would you? I'm borrowing this from the Dan Patrick boys, but I think it's great. Who would you rather be today, James Franklin or Brian Kelly?
Ooh, James Franklin. Because from the beginning, just that whole James Franklin being, well, let me say this. The inauthenticity of Brian Kelly just irks me. And so even though I feel like James Franklin is a cool dude, if he was probably my coach, I would like him. But, like, from afar, you're like, man, who's this clown, man? This guy can't, of course, the winning deal. But the inauthenticity of Brian Kelly and just leaving Notre Dame kind of in the lurch and just seeing how excited the players were when Marcus Freeman walked through the door less than 24 hours after the coaching search. And it was like, man, I just don't know what it is about Brian Kelly. He might be a good X's and O's guy. He might be one of those, CEOs. He can turn your organization on there just in time for Christmas, but everybody hates being in the building with that dude, and that's what it kind of feels like on top of everything. Because of course everybody has the window to the world whether you're the LSU guy, you got the coffers of the Bayou backwater billionaires and everything, but it just the inauthenticity of it. But it's also going to be interesting to see what Penn State's going to do with James Franklin because, again,
go get him a receiver, man. Record. That's what he needs. Go get him a.
But I thought he was a receivers guy. That was my whole Maryland and the trek down to Vanderbilt and being the guy in Green Bay. So that all goes back to him, and I think that you got to kind of point that finger at that part of that 1-18 record. I know it wasn't receivers all the time, but like, James, come on, bro. We can't hire you as an offensive coach and it just be this putrid 24 points. Come on. What are we doing?
Langston Moore with us on this Friday. We'll get into tonight's game, NFL playoffs as well. You're listening to the Postgame Show.
Sure.
Last night's college football playoff action was incredible, and there's more postseason action tonight. And, of course, the professional ranks. Those playoffs happening this weekend as well, and you can make that viewing experience even better with my friends over at Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. There is so much to get into with Prize Picks. It's very simple. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players and their stat projections to possibly win up to 100 times your cash. You don't have to stop at 2. You can go 3, 4, 5, whatever your lucky number is, whatever. Tonight, there are a few that I'm looking at, and I kind of want to go less on Ohio State passing yards. Will Howard, 250.5. Playing against one of the best secondaries in college football, Jahdae Barron, maybe the best corner in college football. I think I'm going less on that. But do what you want. Just download the app today. Use promo code 1075GAME to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, promo code 1075GAME. Prize Picks. Run your game.
Talking college football playoffs, get into the NFL postseason starting up this weekend as well. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell, our good friend Langston Moore joining us from Dallas, site of tonight's second semifinal. Ohio State, around a touchdown favorite over the Texas Longhorns. So a lot to get to. And I was, again, just asking the former SEC and NFL D lineman about the guy like Abdul. I thought for a second, too, that like Abdul Carter was going to raise his draft stock last night. I guess the best he can do is maybe just go to number 1 in the draft.
But he still do.
From what he did.
Still do.
But what a performance, even in a loss last night. But a heck of a game. And I know Elijah has has more to discuss on this one.
Yeah, some more observations. Langston, you're a tough guy. Yeah, you can't play as long in the NFL as you did and play major college football if you're not tough. Jeremiah Love might be the toughest football player I have watched in a long time. This guy came in with a pretty banged up right knee, had the brace on it, I think they're just happy to have him on the field at all during that game. Had probably one of the toughest touchdown runs you'll ever see, and the amount of tackles he broke and refusal to go down to give Notre Dame a 17-10 lead. Oh, yeah, and he hurdled over somebody during the game, too. All of this with a bum knee. That's one of the more impressive performances. I think that might not be talked about enough. I know the run has gotten talked about a lot because that was an all-time angry run. But for a guy with a hurt knee to do that and leap over another grown man in a game of that magnitude is one of my favorite takeaways from last night.
And that also shows you different levels of, like, hurt and pain tolerance. Like, 20-year-old hurt, my knee hurts, I'm 80%, versus 42-year-old Langston Moore, I'm hurt, my knee hurts. And I love during the broadcast, they're like, oh, during the broadcast was like, yeah, he promised us that he was going to take it easy tonight. He wasn't going to hurdle anybody. Well, I guess anything. So that also lets me know, like, come on, man. You can't be over here talking about, man, my bum knee. I don't know if I can go out there. I might not hurdle. You preference it on Wednesday and Thursday, like in the pre-media meetings. Oh, man, I'm not going to hurdle anybody. Then you actually do it in the game when the bullets are live. That just shows me, like, and I'm not trying to say the kid wasn't hurt. It's just amazing. Different levels of pay tolerance, even to, like, Abdul Carter. It makes me laugh because, like, you're telling me I'm tough. I think I'm tough. But the last injury that took me out when I played in the illustrious USFL, it was a torn, ruptured bicep. And I was like, as soon as that happened, I was like, oh, I'm done. I'm done for the season. I'm out. I'm out of here. Left Nashawn Goddard down there. He was on the team. All these different guys. We had a chance. We went all the way to the championship. And there was another guy on the other end of the defensive line. He ruptured his bicep the next week, and he kept playing. And I was like, man, you soft as cotton. And so, again, it all comes back to pain tolerance, all those different things. But, man, between the hurdling and that powerful run at the end of the game to put them up, that just shows you what passion and, injuries and all that stuff be darned. Man, the kid went from, like, a mechanical knee brace to, like, just having the sleeve on to hurdling the guy. I was like, man, are you really that hurt? Are you just been kind of egging me on? But there's always levels to these injuries, and it's just amazing, Jay. Just amazing.
That was really one of the better touchdowns. I told Elijah that reminded me a lot of of the kind of tough short yardage runs that a guy like Marcus Lattimore used to make. I remember I know Carolina lost the game, but that touchdown he scored in Baton Rouge, just toughness, and it was fun to watch. Again, Notre Dame's going to play for a title, and they'll do it against the winner of tonight's game, Ohio State, Texas. Ohio State has really come on after they lost to Michigan. Two big blowouts and just dominant performances. Are you anticipating something similar again?
I'm expecting a lot of offensive firepower tonight. Just be back and forth. Sark dialing it up. Scripted plays, and of course, Ryan Day coaching for his life, coaching like, he's trying to, raise his daddy from the dead, as much as he's been talking about all these different things with death and just the importance of this. Because it just doesn't. I mean, like any other program, be like, man, you took us to the game before the national championship, and we got all these things. We're really excited probably about next year, win, lose, or whatever's going to happen for him. But it feels like unless Ryan Day goes all the way and punches his ticket, even on the championship stage, if they do win the national championship, I don't think Ryan Day will be happy. I think he'll still be looking over his shoulders like, who's this coming with his paper rolled up in his hand? Is the AD calling me over here to the back room to have a conversation? Are they going to fire me? So. All in all, I think it's going to be an offensive fireworks. I think it's going to go back and forth. I kind of had Texas as the team once this playoff started to win it all. But like I said, I think Notre Dame is the one. I think Notre Dame is the team in the pedigree that they're going to figure out, regardless of what's happening, whether it's offensive firepower, special teams, whatever, they're going to get it done.
All right, let's shift to the pros. All right, we got, let's see, road games. We got our road teams: Chargers, Steelers, Broncos, Commanders, and technically the Vikings, but that game has been moved to your old stomping grounds outside of Phoenix. You're not going to hurt my feelings if you don't say my team, but which road team? Oh, and the Packers. Which road team has the best opportunity to win this weekend?
Let me get it right. So it's the Packers are a road team.
Chargers, Steelers, Broncos, Packers, Commanders, Vikings.
Chargers and Commanders.
Okay.
Those are my two favorites right there. And both teams extremely dangerous. I mean, that Chargers Texas game is this really for me is really interesting because I mean the Chargers have been kind of steady Eddie, but double digits wins out there in an extremely competitive AFC West deal. And I mean Jay, the Broncos are the third team to come out of that conference. Yep. So I mean quietly, Jim Harbaugh, laughing at Preston Thorne in the morning show a couple days ago, talking about Jim Hart told him he remembered being born. So, guys like that, growing up an Indianapolis Colts fan myself, loving Ted Marchibroda, Jim Harbaugh, and so, to see this iteration of him is just really hilarious, but also to see, the total, juxtaposition of his brother who's, feels like he's just as intense, but just not as crazy. John would never say nothing stupid like that. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's probably accurate. Just as intense, not as crazy. That's
not as stupid. So again, but Jim, which one is John? Is the older brother, right?
But yes, by 2 years.
Yeah,
maybe?
so it makes sense. Yeah, Jim is the dumb, stupid younger brother who had probably a little bit more talent. So it's still called all kind of tracks. But all in all, it's kind of been a wild year for the Texans, and I think the Chargers are right for figuring out a way to go on the road, get a win, and take it on to the next level. But I think that's where it probably stops for them after that second round. But who knows? Once you get hot, who knows in the playoffs? And
then one game that I'm looking forward to a lot this weekend: Broncos at Bills. The Broncos are so good defensively, and I think that's the way they're able. Yeah. They might be able to squeeze themselves into this game. But we were doing our picks contest yesterday, Langston. I don't know at this point in time if I could feel good betting against Josh Allen in any capacity, just with the way that guy is playing. What do the Broncos have to do to make it to where Jay can at least sweat a little bit watching this game?
Yeah, you got to keep heaping pressure on Josh Allen to perform, because I think that narrative plays in his mind, in the back, especially as things are going on in the game, or especially getting into this portion of the season, home field, Broncos coming in. You don't want to be Josh Allen, who's on the cusp of probably having an MVP season, depend upon what Lamar does, just depend upon all those different things. You don't want that narrative of this guy, Bo Nix, Sean Payton, them coming in all the so you got to put the pressure on them. The defense, we already talked about, but offensive firepower, trying to figure out some ways to steal some points, get some points on there, and getting Josh to try to go out there and make those plays in that cold weather. He's done it before. He has a multitude of ways that he can do it, but I think heaping the pressure on them, doing that, that's probably your surefire path to victory if there's a way to do that. Because with that comes maybe some turnovers, some Josh Allen trying to sneak the ball in there. He's Cam Newton running back, fullback-esque. So he's built for the kind of the cold weather. He might not separate himself from the ball, but I do feel his decision-making and him pressing a little bit, that might be your surefire way path to do it. And like I said, I'm always a Sean Payton fan because he is creative. He will figure out a different way. He's one of those coaches where this is all I got, tuna casserole, some tuna, some noodles. We're gonna make something good out of this, and it's gonna be something you're like. And so that's the offensive product I think I'm always excited to see. So with this team, I think that's probably the surefire pathway for the Broncos to try to make something happen. But I don't think it'll happen up there with Buffalo.
I'm trying. But, hey, at least we're back in the playoffs. So there's that. More with Langston on the other side, and a very special guest, which I guess is very good news for me.
Yes.
In the studio.
Or bad news. Maybe this is your last segment.
Well, it could be. We'll find out when the postgame show returns. 11 minutes in front of 4 o'clock on this Friday afternoon. Hope you're traveling safe. Again, downtown roads are pretty much fine, a little wet. And I've got 33 degrees in downtown Columbia right now. Jay, Elijah, Langston Moore is with us. Athletessandartists.net is the website for all your Just a Chicken series of books. The new swag is available, or the merch, your choice of words. Butt and Gut podcast, which is now apropos. The Godfather is here, Langston. Our great friend Brian Glenn from the Village Idiot. I made the mistake, if you will, of talking about a national chain, which is, in and of itself, it's a fine product, but it's not the Village Idiot. And Brian heard that, and instead of coming in with malice, he came in with love and joy and a pizza. What's up?
I showed up with love and pizza. Sorry, Langston, I couldn't get one out to Dallas.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I just stopped by my favorite brick oven Village Idiot pizza interpretation out here in Dallas to pick up some pizzas before we get shut in. But
is that the ones you brought us?
No, this was a different spot.
Okay.
Different spot. Very close.
Okay.
That was that's Kane Russo. That's kind of like that's made diners and drive-ins and all that type of stuff. But all those pale in comparison to the Village Idiot. So let's just take a step back. But Brian's got it right. Just come through there with pizza and just shove it into your mouth, and he can talk about whatever it is he wants to.
That's right.
You in between bites. That's how it works. That's very smart.
We've got the January pizza of the month, yeah?
Yeah, it brought the pizza of the month, the Dry January, which is a homemade vodka sauce with some sausage, spinach, and garlic.
It's quite delicious. That's all I'm going to say.
It's incredible.
And for now, you're open tonight.
We're open for now.
Okay.
Looking like the temperature will stay above freezing, hopefully, for us. And, we'll be there. Our employees that live far away, we told them to stay home, and everyone else is into work and ready to have a good night.
All right. There you go. Easy enough. We do appreciate you doing this. How about that game last night?
That was a good one.
Yeah.
I stayed up past my bedtime for that.
Yeah, me too.
Had to. That's one that you have to stay at past your bedtime for.
Yeah,
But you get a
absolutely.
feeling in that fourth quarter when it starts that things were happening, and that's like, okay, I can power through.
Yeah, definitely kept my attention there, and slept a little bit late this morning, but that's okay.
Yeah, that is good. Sit tight for just a second. Langston, I know you got to get out of here, so before we let you go, looking at this weekend, too, how much pressure, in your opinion, is on a guy like Lamar Jackson? I mean, they're heavy favorites, but it's the Steelers. Mike Tomlin knows them well. But is this hey, you got to make the Super Bowl kind of year? Are we getting to that point, in your opinion, with Lamar?
It feels like that a little bit because, like I said a couple days ago to somebody else, like if Lamar wins another MVP, that's great. But like it feels like he didn't get his team all the way to the play. Like and I hate to be a part of that narrative. We need to see him on the Super Bowl stand at the end of the year, holding that Super Bowl MVP trophy up. But I don't think the pressure is mounted on him this week. I think they kind of handle it. I think all the pressure is really on Pittsburgh and that defense and really Russell Wilson, what they're going to do after this. But I think the pressure will probably be the next iterations because Lamar sounds like he's got that glow right now. He's like, man, I'm seeing things in before. I got to calm myself down. So I don't think – because he's been here before. So I think it's one of those deals where, like, maybe as the subsequent weeks kind of come here and he's getting really, really close, that's when I think maybe the pressure will pile on. But maybe Lamar's turned a curve and he's ascended to a whole nother level, and maybe that's what we've been seeing this whole year with the stats and everything that he's been doing so far.
How excited are you to see Jaden Daniels in the playoffs right away?
Oh, man, super excited because, like we talked, whether it's, Bo Nix or Jaden Daniels, like the new wave of quarterbacks and the quarterbacks that are successful early on in the NFL are those quarterbacks who are a little bit older, and it doesn't feel like, Bo Nix has played in a lot of big games, SEC big games, Auburn. I'm seeing him in an Auburn uniform. I'm seeing him in an Oregon uniform. I'm seeing him in so the point is, it wouldn't surprise me if Jaden Daniels did go in there and does what he does. Same thing for Bo Nix because they do have some maturity. The moment is still going to be a big moment, but these guys aren't going to be overwhelmed. And I feel like combined with the teams and the defense that they have, they got a good enough chance as anybody to go in there and upset the apple cart. But I don't know about your guy, Jay. Jaden Daniels probably has a better chance of that.
I think so. I think it's yeah. I mean, I think so. I think so too. We'll see. I don't know. I mean, the votes are already in, so the playoffs won't sway anybody in terms of a Rookie of the Year award, but we'll find out. Hey, appreciate you as always. Enjoy the pizzas. We'll enjoy ours. Best to the family. Next time we have you, we'll talk about like how we cook as Southerners when we're snowed in, because that whole milk and bread thing is ridiculous. There's so many other things.
Oh, no. A lot of Jiffy Mix, a lot of rice, a lot of eggs, a lot of, My mother-in-law's been here all week, so it's funny because she got stuck out here. She's going to be flying back to South Carolina, but I've been taking good care of her. A lot of grits and eggs and gravies and stuff to keep her warm. So
that's good. You see, you're doing it right. You're doing it right. I don't know if I would do that. Well, I would. I love my mother-in-law. She's a fine person. He's Langston Moore, athletesанdartists.net. Check it out. All kinds of great stuff on there. And follow Langston if you don't already. Remove the chains on Twitter. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Y'all be safe out there.
All right, we will. We'll do our best. You do the same. All right, more with the Godfather as the postgame show rolls on this Friday. Cold weather got you even a little more stiff than you might be when you're waking up in the morning. Well, listen, you don't have to live that way all the time. Stop by and see our friends at the Joint Chiropractic Center's 4 locations across the Midlands: Harbison Boulevard, Forest Drive, Roberts Branch off Killian up in the Northeast, and Sunset Boulevard in Lexington. The Joint is convenient. It's affordable. It helps you maintain a healthy body. It prevents reoccurring issues. And it is, again, incredibly convenient when it comes to hours. Monday through Friday, 10 until 7. Saturdays, 10 until 4. You never need an appointment. You never have to worry about insurance. They are FSA and HSA approved. If you've never been, then for just $29, you get an initial consultation, exam, and an adjustment. Learn what it is all about. Remember, it's very simple. You don't have to feel bad to feel better at the Joint Chiropractic Centers. Learn more at thejoint.com. Tell them we sent you to The Joint. 4 o'clock on this Friday. Welcome back into the Postgame Show alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Appreciate you being with us. We are inside the Herndon Chevy Studios, nice and warm, wherever you might be. Please be safe if you're on the roads. Again, downtown Columbia area, not so bad as we speak. Wet, but not frozen. Some of you in the outlying areas may have different sets of circumstances. Obviously, we're glad the kids, got out early today. No buses on the roads late. But be careful out there, wherever you might be. The Godfather, Brian Glenn of the Village Idiot, has stopped in and brought a present, which was great. I felt like
as good a gift as it can get.
Kind of wanted to eat a slice on the air just so that you could get a sense of how great it tastes through the microphone.
I don't think the effect is the same, though. You're just going to have to go out to the business tonight and get some because they're open.
Yeah, they're open. So there you go. Should we here, hang on a second. You talk for a minute.
I'll fill the air. We do stream on YouTube, so like you can prove
just showing how,
that it's there.
It's got a big wedge of the pizza missing now, obviously.
I wonder how it's missing. I wonder what could happen.
Because Elijah ate some.
Yeah, I'll do it again.
It came through the door full. It was a full circle.
Right. Now it looks like Pac-Man.
Kind of, yeah.
But soon enough, it'll look
still at an acute angle.
Soon enough, it'll look like nothing.
Yes, it will disappear.
But that's the thing. See, I got it now that I know I can go do this more. I have to be careful. I'll let you. I may partake of another slice. Then I'll let you finish the rest because I have to go. I don't want my wife to holler at me like, "Why aren't you hungry? Why am I the only one that wants to eat?" I was like, "Well, because Brian Glenn brought us a pizza."
What are you gonna do? Say
during the show?
Don't get me in trouble.
No, I won't. It'll be me. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to get me in trouble. That's why. So
because then she's going to be like, well, Elijah could have eaten it. You could have let him eat it.
And he will.
And he will.
And he will. Who's your NFL team?
I don't really have one.
No.
I mean, as a kid, Steelers.
Yeah.
I think just from age, being 51, they were the first team I remember winning a Super Bowl. I know my aunt was at that Super Bowl.
Oh, cool.
And so I have a program from it. So
that's awesome.
Was that in L.A.?
Yeah, it was in L.A. It was in the Rose Bowl, and it's got like the big giant trophy like coming up over the Rose Bowl. So my theory is that if the Rams had won that, I would have been a Rams fan.
Okay.
Because it doesn't make sense that the only games the only teams I saw every Sunday were the Jets and the Giants. The Steelers would be on.
Well, for one of those, I feel really bad for you.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. But just the occasionally, you get the Monday night game, or occasionally they'd be on the Jets would kick at 1, and they'd be playing the Broncos or something, and they'd kick at 4, and you could be able to see them. But it was probably 2 or 3 times a year.
Actually, I guess when you were around. Because you're just a couple years younger than me, and so when you were around like 10, the Jets actually had that run where they were okay for a couple of years.
Yeah, Mark Gastineau, Freeman McNeil,
and Richard Todd was a pretty good quarterback.
And then who?
Joe
Kenny
Klecko.
O'Brien.
Kenny O'Brien.
Joe Klecko. Yeah,
Joe Klecko and Mark Gastineau up front on the defense.
Al Toon, Wesley Walker.
Al Toon could catch the ball. Wesley. Yeah, they were for a couple of years. They were all right
because it was the only team I could probably tell you a lot more about the Jets than the Steelers. And there was a Mark Malone, Bubby Brista era there for the Steelers.
Well, I was telling Elijah, my roommate and I, when we were in college, that was when Bubby was playing for the Steelers. Mm-hmm. And, Bubby, if you only saw the completions and attempts, it'd be like, Bubby Brister, and I'm exaggerating a little, be like, 25 of 32. You're like, wow, what a day, for like 104 yards.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the quarterback version of Jarvis Landry. Oh, he caught 12 passes for 82 yards.
Yeah, I mean, because everything the Steelers did back then was just dink and dunk, just little, just little this and that. Because Bubby, I don't think you could trust Bubby to throw the ball down the field.
I think that was the running backs were Frank Pollard and Walter Abercrombie.
You got me.
That's a hell of a pull, right there.
That's a good one.
That is a hell of a pull. That's one that gets you 0.01% on the immaculate grid. If you've ever played that game,
that's a fun game.
That is an incredibly fun game.
I'll give you a better one. Tight end Tunch Ilkin.
Oh my,
that's a football name.
Tunch Ilkin.
That's good.
Is there another position a Tunch Ilkin can play other than tight end?
Maybe nose guard.
Yeah, I was going to say it's somewhere in the trenches. Tunch Ilkin is not a defensive back.
No, Tunch Ilkin, if you're Tunch Ilkin, if that's your name, there is contact every single play.
Yeah. With your head.
With your head.
Yes. As a battering ram.
See, it sounds like a nice, middle to Eastern European name as well, to where that guy would be a center back, like the guy on the soccer team that you don't listen. Hey, buddy, here's the one thing we don't want you to do: don't kick the ball. You know, like
Hulk.
Yeah, I want you out there running into people, but don't kick the ball.
Take up space.
Yeah.
Make sure they know you're there.
God, that name, that's a walking targeting penalty. That's amazing.
This should be a good weekend, man. We're asking Langston about road teams. The Chargers, by the way, are the only road favorite this weekend.
I love betting on the home dog.
Well, that's not true. I take that back. The Vikings are -3, but that's now not a.
It's
I guess
a
it
neutral
was a road.
site,
Now
yeah.
it's a new, but I guess they would have been anyway.
By
So,
like
let me-
one,
yeah, let me- yeah,
I think
they're-
they were 1-point favorites when that
It's
line
now
first
3.
opened.
It's
Yeah.
now 3 that it's moved, and I don't know. I mean, that's going to basically. I hate to say an empty stadium, but I mean there'll be some people from the greater Phoenix area that want to go. But I mean, to be serious, with Ram fans probably not wanting to travel too much. I mean, Viking
have
fans
bigger
might try to
issues
get
going
some
on.
kind. But what if you already made plans? I mean, it's just. And again, what's happening out there is beyond horrible. But if you didn't hear, by the way, the NFL did make it official, and that game. That was already going to be the Monday night game, which again I hate. I think that's a bad idea.
Horrible.
No, you can't have a Monday night playoff game. That just puts the winner of that game, in my opinion, at such a disadvantage relative to the others. But
They're not going to match up against Saturday teams, are they?
they don't know yet. It all depends on the seeds that win, and then they match them up accordingly.
That would be even. I mean, forget a day, okay, but 2 days, especially in the NFL,
Oh, it's a big deal.
it's a huge deal.
Yeah, yeah. And they don't do a lot of heavy lifting practice wise, anyways, at this point in the year. But just recovery more than anything, film study, that kind of thing. But I do think 2 days, because it could well be a Saturday game. You don't know yet.
Right.
Saturday, let's see. Let me make certain of this. Actually, no, it won't. There's only 2 games on Saturday. They're both AFC games. So they'll play somebody that plays on Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah. Or, whoever is going to play them, because Detroit is the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they
Detroit is the one, and Kansas City is the one in the AFC.
I think that Pittsburgh-Baltimore game is going to be fun.
I do too, and I was mildly surprised at the spread in that one, which is currently 9.5 as of this morning. Mildly, if only because there's such a level of familiarity. And I even told Elijah, I know they won't, but I wish the NFL would adopt something along the lines of what the Champions League has, or like the World Cup, where you can't. I mean, World Cup has a little exclusivity, but like in Champions League, you can't play somebody in the first round from your country.
Right.
So they make sure that there's, because of the familiarity.
Right.
I wish the NFL would do the same, but I know the NFL just simply seeds 1 through 7, and then you go play. But I'd rather, if they're going to play, fine, but I'd rather them have gone through others first.
Yeah, and I think that's one where, because of their last matchup and the mismatch that was, that's why the line's where it is. But, I mean, the playoffs are different. And those 2 teams, I mean, that's as good of a rivalry as there is in the NFL.
Absolutely.
So
I kind of think it's the best one as we speak.
Actively? Yeah.
I think it's the
can't think of
best
one better.
active rivalry in NFL.
probably, yeah. Yeah, so that's a lot of points for a playoff game.
And a Mike Tomlin coach team.
Yeah, and I think Tomlin. Listen, sometimes I'm not the because the spread, as we've talked about many, many times through the years, Vegas doesn't care about you. Vegas has no emotion. Vegas has one goal.
Yep.
But coaches, players, fans will often try to use the spread as some level of respect or measure of respect. Mm-hmm. And hey, good on you if that's what you want to do, right? But I think that's what Mike Tomlin will be doing. Like, hey, see this? Nobody's giving you a chance.
And that is with the familiarity. I mean, just muck it up, let it be there in the fourth quarter, and see what happens. And I think the Steelers have the potential to do that. Also, I mean, you really gotta. I mean, the Chargers have to be the favorite to win it all after we found out that their coach remembers being born.
Right.
I mean, that's some next level stuff right there.
He probably has some telepathy that he just doesn't let anybody in on as well. I mean,
Well, y'all do me a favor, seriously, for a second. Do me a favor. What do you think he means by that?
Exactly that.
I'm just trying to figure out, why did he have to steal signs at Michigan? I mean, it's got to be something in the brainwave. He remembers being born.
He ain't right. He's just,
But
he's
I feel
psychotic
like,
about this.
I feel like there's got to be something metaphorical that he's trying to portray there.
I think he honestly believes it. I don't
But
think he
then again,
actually
maybe
remembers
not.
being born, but I do truly believe that he is being truthful, at least to himself and others, you know.
I love that guy because when he left last year, one of his comments, they were talking about, he wanted to live in the RV for a while, and he said, while we're figuring out where our new facility is going to be, like talking about his house with his wife as a facility.
Right.
He is football. There is
bless
no
his
turning
heart,
that
man.
switch
Yeah, he
off.
just doesn't know anything else. And he's the son of a coach, and that's his life. That's great. But I imagine that gets to be interesting after all. I wonder if Mrs. Jim Harbaugh is like, thank God he's at the office 14 hours a day. I love my husband, but.
I don't know how much more our salt and pepper shakers can take at the table being used as play design pawns. I don't know how much more we can do of this. I have to hide them from him.
What was the little game, the little electric table game of football that you had?
Oh, yeah.
You remember those?
Football,
did they have that? Is that like their centerpiece?
Yep.
And he's just constantly moving stuff around without
It's on their coffee table at all times.
Yeah.
I would love to play that with Jim Harbaugh.
Just see how he lines it up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
He'll be like, I need to get a different voltage. This thing's not working right. I don't like this. That's what he would do.
Alternate current. I need direct current here.
Yeah, I need direct current here. I think Texans. It's a great story, but I think the Chargers will win that game.
Yeah, dude, I can't figure out the Texans. Their inconsistency. I know it's injury related, but I mean, it's not like that's changed a ton throughout the year. And C.J. Stroud's taken a step back too. He is definitely sophomore slumped about as hard as you could sophomore slump from someone who had an amazing first year in the league.
Well, I think as much as you put on film, again, coaches at that level will eventually pretty much figure out, and then it's up to you to continue to readjust. But I think they've said, okay, he can't do this. He does this, just negate it, that kind of thing.
Did you say there were 2 home dogs?
Yeah, Texans are +3. And again, Rams were +1. Now Rams are +3 neutral. So they were Vikings were +1, or Rams were +1.
Technically, 2 higher seed dogs.
Yeah, yeah. And again, at least Langston gave my Broncos a puncher's chance.
He did.
So
Part of me just thinks it's not going to happen.
I don't. Listen, I hold out hope, but. Because Denver's defense is good, and Denver does lead the NFL in sacks.
They're awesome with that.
But Josh Allen is just so good at getting away from you.
Yeah.
That it makes that, how they contain, I think, will be interesting. And then I have a day now because I'm hugely excited about my Denver Broncos, but at the exact same time, my favorite soccer team, Arsenal's in a playoff game, if you will, an FA Cup game against Manchester United of all people. So why do they do this to me? I mean, I'm watching
because
both.
in soccer, in European soccer, there's so many different leagues you play in. You're always in a playoff game, so that's how it happens.
Yeah, so
there's a lot of playoffs.
I have that going on, so I have double angst at the same time. But I'll be watching. Thanks to my friends at Integrated Media, I'll be watching both at the same time.
You should probably have a beer. Keep your nerves good.
Or 6.
I may have. I may have 2. Yeah,
at the same time.
It's a little early, but it's okay. It's a Sunday afternoon.
I won't tell anybody. Nothing I haven't done.
Thanks for doing this for us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're the man.
I wanted to bring love.
You did.
I didn't want you to.
And
be
I don't really
there.
think that if we were to have crossed you, that we would have been physically harmed in any way.
The name Godfather actually was given to me by Matt Berry and Tim Hill.
Yeah.
But not because of Mario Puzo's Godfather, but from old school, because I was the old guy who had a place to hang out and party.
Right.
I like that. It's good.
And even that's been 20 years.
That's been 20 years.
Ish. I'll say Happy New Year since I can. It's the 10th, but
Happy New Year, Jay.
But yeah, good to see you. Best to the family and the girls.
Thank you.
Santa was good to everybody.
Good to everyone but me.
Yeah, that's how it goes, man.
Yep.
Yeah, now that you're dad.
Expected.
That's how it goes. That's Village Idiot. Again, they're open, both locations tonight, so enjoy if you're looking for something to go do, or they'll even bring it to you. All right. Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Lots more to do on the Postgame Show. Welcome back into the Postgame Show on this Friday afternoon. Jay and Elijah with you. Hope you are well. A lot of you home early from work or maybe heading out of the office a little bit earlier than normal on a Friday afternoon. Be safe out there. Thanks again to our good friend Brian Glenn, the Godfather, for joining us. Appreciate his time, bringing us a little something. So now we got supper.
Yeah, that pizza's good, too.
Oh,
vodka sauce on a pizza hits.
It's good. They don't. There's never been a bad slice of pizza. I'm a big believer in that. You know, you can pretty much put anything on there and I'll eat it.
Oh, yeah.
I like pizza.
Would you eat pizza with anchovies on it?
I don't like anchovies. I don't like anchovies.
I actually don't mind them. I used to be repulsed by the idea as a kid. As an adult, I softened up the stance a little bit.
So I'll tell you, there was an amazing restaurant down in Five Points that's no longer with us called Garibaldi's, and it was phenomenal. And one time in there, I had, instead of, I don't know, something, like a regular salad or something, to start, we got Caesar salad. And they made it was Garibaldi's was, it's not exclusively Italian, but a lot of great seafood dishes, but they had a lot of Italian, as the name might suggest, a lot of Italian influences. And, but again, it was, I guess upscale is the word. I don't know. It was a really nice restaurant. And those of you who went to Garibaldi's know what I'm talking about. And I do miss it. Columbia needs more places like that. But anyway, I think Sonny and I were dating still. So I guess I'm early 20s. Now, again, I was around food my whole life. My mother owned a catering business, and my mother owned a restaurant for a time. And everybody cooked. But anchovies, I will tell you, anchovies, sardines, that kind of thing. Plenty of seafood in my life, but anchovies and sardines, not so much, right? So I'm eating this Caesar salad, and the first few bites are fine, and it's got, the Caesar dressing and the Parmesan cheese, freshly
the classic
shaved,
stuff.
all that kind of stuff. And then I take a bite, and there's this weird taste and texture all of a sudden in my mouth. And I didn't say anything at first.
A little slimy.
Oh, I wasn't sure, man. And so I ate it and just said, well, maybe there was like a bad piece of cheese, or I don't know, a bad piece of lettuce. I don't know. There's something, right? So I eat another couple of bites, and then I get the same thing happens like 3 bites later. And I looked at Sonny, and I was like, I think something's wrong with my salad. And I didn't want to
probably so concerned.
I didn't want to say anything, right? Because I couldn't place it. And she's like, what? And so and she's like, that's an anchovy.
I would pay money. I would pay my hard-earned money that I make from working this job to watch you discover the taste of an anchovy for the first time. And I can already picture what it looked like.
Yeah, and so because I didn't see it, right? I was just taking forkfuls of salad. And so because again, like homemade Caesar dressing, and again, freshly shaved Parmesan.
That sounds delicious.
They made their own croutons. It was great, except for the anchovy. And like I said, after the second one, I was like, yeah, well, I don't like these.
I think this has ruined my salad.
Yeah, and so I'm trying to pick around and see if there's any more. And there was 4 or 5 of them in there. It was perfectly fine. And she's like, yeah, you're really doing it wrong. And I was like, I'm sorry. I just don't like this. So probably not. Probably not.
I always felt like I'm in the minority of just not minding them. It's not like I love them or seek them out.
Yeah.
I simply don't mind their existence. Some people are just repulsed by it.
I suppose it's the same. It's like if I had known it was going to be in there, because I guess I had Caesar salads, but again, a real, genuine, authentic Caesar salad is going to include whole anchovy.
Yes.
Whereas just, your Caesar dressing may often have just anchovy paste as part of the dressing. And I have learned all these things since. And if my mother had been there, she would have hollered at me you could ask me. I just didn't know. Same kind of story I'll tell. I don't mean to get into food stories now, but I have, now that we've brought it up. We were talking about, I might have even told this story before on the air, but I was in 3rd grade. We take, sometimes you get lunch in the cafeteria, and sometimes you take your lunchbox, right? And most of the time I took my lunchbox. And my mom, and like most little kids, I would say, half of the time that I took a lunchbox, it was a bologna sandwich, because that's what kids take to school, right? Bologna
Right.
sandwich. Classic
Cold cuts.
America, right?
Yeah.
Bologna sandwich. And so one day, there I am with all my friends, and I'm opening my lunchbox, and I pull out a little thing and open the sandwich bag, and there's my bologna sandwich, take a bite, and I'm like, ugh. And I was like, ugh, something was wrong. And I was like, the mayonnaise is bad. Like, the mayonnaise is rotten. I didn't finish my sandwich. I go home. I tell my mom, like, our mayonnaise is bad, because we were a Duke's mayonnaise people, right?
Ah, brand loyalists.
And she says, no, I just decided to put Miracle Whip on it today. And I don't know that I had ever eaten Miracle Whip. and those of you who have had Miracle Whip is basically just mayonnaise with sugar in it. But if you're not ready for it,
I could see the confusion.
and I thought it was well. And so to this day, man, like, I don't want to eat Miracle Whip. Like, I don't like Miracle Whip.
I don't like Miracle Whip.
And basically, you just make slaw with it or something, right? But she didn't tell me. She's I just thought you might. And I was like, well, how about telling somebody? So the same thing. Should the server at Garibaldi's have told me? By the way, sir.
How old were you?
No, they should not have.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how old were you? Yeah.
At Garibaldi's, yeah, no. Again, when that story, I was probably 23.
Oh yeah. That's
24 or something like that.
If anything, they should have given you more.
Right.
They should have put a little extra in there.
The chef should have come out and gone, what's your problem there, bud?
I'm looking at your face the entire time you're eating this, and I don't like your expression.
But you also, at a place like that, you can't, like, pick them out and, like, hand them over. At that point, you know what?
Just the look of you.
At that point, Sonny would have
have like that would have been hilarious.
I could just see her, like, taking her napkin out of her lap, placing the fork on the side of the bowl, standing up, and just walking out of the restaurant. And at that point, like, and then I would not have been married for the last nearly 30 years. So there's
Call me when you're ready to be a big boy, Jay Phillips.
So there's that for you. We got a lot of football to get into. By the way, some good news. I got to make sure I get this name right. Justin Okoronkwo. Am I saying it right? Okoronkwo, the new linebacker for the University of South Carolina, coming to the Gamecocks from Alabama. Played in all of Alabama's games. Did not start. Played a lot of special teams. And did play as a reserve linebacker. So he'll have 3 years. He was a true freshman last year. So he'll have 3 years of eligibility. And I've already, because this is what I do with recruiting, if I have to move on from you, then I forget your name. But the kid they didn't get.
Andrew Jones.
Oh, I should have known that. That's right. I knew it was something I could remember.
Yet not the center fielder.
Yeah, that's right. They didn't get him. But they've gotten a couple of linebackers now. But this is, from all accounts, a pretty good pickup.
Yeah, and that's a position of need, man.
Yes.
Debo Williams ain't walking through that door. Neither is Demetrius Knight. So you got to have somebody who you believe can play right away, come into that linebacking room and give you a boost. So I like the positional need focus of a pickup like that.
Yeah, no doubt. Some more visitors in town this week and over the weekend. And again, while the portal in terms of entering has closed for most, you can keep on wanting to. Now, listen, the thing is, though, Carolina classes start Monday. So if you're getting in this semester, I think you pretty much can maybe go up until like Thursday to start class.
With the purge date for most schools,
Yeah.
I've had the pleasure of getting to attend at 2 different colleges.
Right.
Usually about a week.
Yeah, so I would think
class
that you got
begins.
inside of 7 days to finalize the roster for this semester and be ready to play spring ball. Come back on the other side. Speaking of transfers and landing spots, we'll tell you where one big name is going. And as I was mentioned in a tweet about the show, you likely won't be surprised. And soon enough, here we'll have an EBPI breakdown of Carolina Auburn. It's the postgame show. Holidays have come and gone, family and friends in the house, and you realize, man, I love where we are, but it is getting a little cramped. This kitchen's a little outdated. Man, we need another bathroom. Whatever it might be time for you to call Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union and take advantage of the equity in your home with a home equity line of credit. Unlock your home's equity and access your line of credit over a 10-year draw period. You prioritize what's most important. Is it time to modernize the kitchen? Is it time to add a bathroom? Is it time to add a bedroom? Kids are getting a little older. Maybe a playroom. Maybe it's time for a pool out back for everybody to enjoy it, whatever your needs are. If you love where you live and you've been there a while, you built up that equity, take advantage of it. Put it to work. Apply today at palmettocitizens.org. And remember that with Palmetto Citizens, you're going to save money with lower rates, fewer fees, not-for-profit, local, great people, 14 convenient locations. Check them out, Palmetto Citizens.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. A few accidents to get to you that are causing some issues on the roadways here this afternoon. We'll start with an accident on Bickley Road at Broad River Road. We got 3 that are on 77, one northbound at Camp Welfare Road near exit 46, one southbound between Killian Road, exit 22, and Farrow Road near exit 19, and a disabled vehicle that is causing some traffic backup on 77 south at I-20 and exit 16. Lastly, an object on the roadway is causing some traffic backup at South Carolina 277 northbound near Farrow Road.
Oh, we're talking a lot of things today. We've been talking football, basketball, food, snow, or a lack thereof. I was hoping for it. I didn't even see a snowflake today. I don't know that we had any in Columbia.
I don't think I did either.
At least here in the city.
Where my dad lives, he's got about 6 inches of snow right now, and it's coming down again. He sent me a picture of what his porch looks like.
Yeah.
And
you missed those days?
There's some large snowflakes. Yeah, I told him I was jealous.
Yeah.
And he knew I was jealous. He knows how much I love snow. And I sent him a picture of the pizza that was brought to us, and he goes, "I'd trade you." I'm like, well, the pizza is pretty good.
Now, where you're from in Tennessee, I mean, snow was not uncommon like it is here, right?
It snows more there than most of the places in Tennessee because of its location on the Cumberland Plateau.
Was your school district prepared for this? Therefore, you went to school?
Not that prepared. No, we had 12 built-in snow days every year.
Okay.
And if we surpassed our 12 built-in snow days, we had to stay later at the end of the year. So instead of maybe getting out of school on like May 25th, it'd be like June 1st.
Yeah.
And that happened about twice when I was growing up.
Well, again, around here, I don't mind that people freak out and shut everything down because it's better than leaving it wide open.
Yeah.
But like I said to you earlier, people from up north, which again, Tennessee is not up north, so I'm not looking at you. Like come down, y'all can't drive. You people freak out over it. I'm like, yes, we do. Yes, we do.
And we will continue to.
And let me remind you, this is not me being. I'm very hospitable, and I want you to want to be here. But remember, you up north folk chose to come here.
That's on you.
So don't pick on us.
And
because we don't have snow. The reason you're here.
Get over it for the one day it happens.
Yeah, the reason you're here is the weather. Okay? So don't be getting on us about the weather.
That you get to benefit from.
That you chose to be part of. So there's that. Speaking of choosing and weather, you know where it doesn't stop? By the way, did you see last night, and I don't know, I didn't see what the first one was. Last night was the second coldest kickoff temperature in Orange Bowl history.
It was like mid-50s. 56
degrees last night at Hard Rock.
Which to them probably felt like 10. That's their ice bowl.
Yeah, 56. I mean, let's face it, man. 50. You tell me it's 56 here, and I've got a sweater on or something.
I'm layering up. Yeah.
I did wonder for a minute. I was like, why are all the coaches wearing hoodies? And then I looked and saw. I was like, oh, it's in the 50s.
It's kind of chilly there.
There you go. There's that. But speaking of that part of the country, to the surprise of basically no one, Carson Beck has committed and is now, from what I understand, signed and will be playing for the Miami Hurricanes. The Georgia transfer choosing the Canes reportedly over Texas Tech and Ohio State. Again, those were names. I even saw... This moved so quickly that it had already been done, and I got no problem with this, I assure you. But there was a story later last night that said, Beck and his team will be exploring all opportunities, and I was like, well, okay.
Which is why I put the do not contact tag
and then
on his transfer portal.
And then by, lunchtime today we knew this, give or take?
Yeah.
And Pete Thamel even said, yeah, it's even farther along than they're saying. He's enrolled. He's ready to go. Good for him. Listen, Mario Cristobal showed us that he will go do what's necessary to not just get the quarterback, but to get the tools that are needed for a quarterback to be successful. I was kind of only half joking with you yesterday. I was like, Cam Ward had a heck of a year. You got to have a lot of people catch those footballs when you're throwing for 4,000 and something yards and a whole mess of touchdowns. And they'll need to be – I don't know how many of those kids are staying. But they'll go get some more, I would think.
Oh, yeah.
And I know the girlfriend angle is one that matters to Beck as well, so that's cool. It also sounds, and I don't want to have this, from my perspective at least, turn into something negative, but in reading Seth Emerson's piece on this in The Athletic, and Seth is based in Athens, if I read between the lines a little bit, it just sounded like once – Carson Beck and his family told Kirby Smart, hey, I'm out. I'm going to the NFL. Kirby was like, a pat on the back. Good luck with the surgery. And, we'll see you around. What I tell you this morning, we'll see you at the reunion.
Yep.
Or something like that. And then decided, I think, based on feedback, that maybe the NFL was not his best option, but that Georgia was not going to be an option either. I just think that Kirby – when I say rather quickly or instantly moved on, I just think that's how Kirby operates. I got to move on.
Yeah, you can't wait around.
Yeah. And I'm not going to sit here and say win-win for everybody. I don't know that it's a win for Georgia to not have him, but I don't know that it's a loss for Georgia either. It's
There's not a ton of hard feelings, at least.
I don't think
it's not
so.
one of those where like Georgia felt like they got stabbed in the back or anything like that.
I think. I mean, and I just wonder. Again, maybe we never know. Does Carson Beck feel like, oh man, I wanted to go back to Georgia, and what was that conversation like? Because again, he's not going to go to spring. From what it sounds like, he's not going to participate in heavy duty spring drills because of the surgery.
Yeah,
that he'll be ready to throw, but not necessarily ready to football throw.
Yeah, two different things.
Yeah,
and it's a good point that Mario Cristobal does. He does a fantastic job at committing himself to getting the quarterback to Miami. But he does not do a great job of committing to getting the quarterback to put his knee on the ground at the end of a football game and run out clock, because he might be the worst in-game manager in the entire sport. That man is cursed with a brain that goes blank in the last 3 minutes of a football game.
Well,
cost him against Syracuse too, not the kneel down, but like taking a field goal when your goal-to-go situation in a game you have to get to the conference title game and give yourself a chance to play in the college football playoff. And as we've seen, you could have lost that conference title game and probably still got in anyway.
Yeah, if you had just beaten Syracuse. They need a defense.
Yes.
So. I think more than any other thing, go get a couple of dudes on defense, because you don't, I know some people don't like to hear this, you don't play in the most difficult league, but you still got to be able to stop some people. Yeah, and what did you and I say the day after they lost?
All over the field on them.
Yeah, I mean, after they lost to Syracuse, I was like, hey, Miami football, if you're really going to be back and you really want people to believe that you're back, whoever those people are that you're trying to impress, and we know who they are, you must, I don't care how good they are, you must beat Syracuse in football. Mm-hmm. You don't have a choice. You had to. That was a must-win game. You can't lose to Syracuse. Syracuse, again, I like what they're doing. Way to go, Fran. Good year. I hope they do some more. It's good for the sport.
A 3-9 to 9-3.
It's good for the sport, man. You know, I mean, it's great. But Miami, you got to win that game. You know, so go get a defense, but go get some people around Carson Beck. He should be fine by the time the season gets here. And like I say, good move for everybody, but it certainly signals that Gunnar Stockton is Georgia's guy, because there's not a lot. I mean, Georgia's not going out and getting a portal quarterback.
At this stage in the game, I don't think
who's
so.
out there anyway?
And there's not anybody available, that I think is probably worthy of that job or would beat Gunnar Stockton out.
Well, Carson Beck is the best quarterback in the portal.
And he's leaving.
He's leaving.
Which means he is not coming back.
Right. So.
Which means he is not available.
Yeah. So the way I look at that one. But, no, I think what Cam Ward did last year is a very similar tale, I think, to the one that Beck is looking at. And, again, based on what we're hearing today, that maybe some of the feedback was, you could be a second, third-round pick, maybe. We're not sure. Yeah, and that was what Cam Ward heard.
And reportedly that the deal he's going to get in NIL is $4 million, and Will Levis as a second rounder is making $950,000 this year. So the potential to make 4 times as much as you would if you didn't get drafted in the first round, I would say, is a pretty appealing offer.
I think it's tremendous, and I mean, look, again, someone is worth what someone is willing to pay them.
Do you think it's Nevin Shapiro?
He didn't get in trouble, did he? Didn't one of their dudes get in trouble?
Oh, he was the one, yeah. I think he was the one that got in a ton of trouble.
Yeah, then I guess not.
As a booster. Luther Campbell. You think Luther Campbell helped foot that bill?
I think Luther has probably spent most of his money, man. Unfortunately, Two Live Crew did not have a lot of staying power when it came to record sales.
They did not, but I'm sure he was great with his money and did not spend it recklessly during that time. So I'm sure he probably had some squirreled up.
I hope so. Because you know who is a big Hurricanes fan is Vanilla Ice, and he is doing quite well in the home renovation business. So
those homes are nice, baby.
Maybe it was him. This is the Postgame Show. Welcome back into the Postgame Show on this Friday. Jay and Elijah with you. Coming up top of the hour, headlines of the day. Around 5:15, the EBPI breakdown of Carolina-Auburn. The EBPI gave Carolina a 17% chance to beat Alabama. So I don't know what the EBPI says for tomorrow afternoon's tilt against Auburn, but you'll find out in about 20 minutes, 30 minutes. 30 minutes.
Math is hard. Don't ask me to do any, please.
All right.
Can't do it.
Man, it's got a percentage, man, so that's math. So, I mean, and the E doesn't stand for everybody.
That's true.
So I'm just saying.
That thing runs on its own. That thing is almost independent of me, even though it's part of my intellectual
That's frightening.
property.
By the way, I just noticed this.
I'm a prisoner in my own mind.
I guess this was done for Gunner.
I know. I think that was done for Terry.
Oh, for Terry?
Because I know Tyler was giving him the breakdown on how to read that.
Okay.
Or how to pronounce his last name.
Okoronkwo. I see. If I had just looked at this, I was trying to do it to visually Okoronkwo. That makes it easy now.
But you figured it out.
I did.
You hooked on phonics as a kid?
Yeah, no, but they didn't have that when I was a kid, man. They just said, like, read this. See,
Look at this and tell me what it says. You figured it out.
see Dick run. See Jane hit their run.
Sounds like you still struggle reading that.
Let's move on. Let's move on.
I don't know why I found that so funny. I did. We're not careful. I'm going to get the giggles.
If I'm not careful, I just start making things up about, like, things that aren't actually in kids' books, and then we just get hollered at by somebody, and
someone's gonna holler at you.
I don't need that. A pretty comfortable win last night for South Carolina over Texas A&M. I know you did a little video breakdown of some of the things that you saw and learned from last night's game. As I was a little surprised that the release from the university basically said they were auditioning play. I was like, ooh, I don't know if I would have used that verb, but I get it. But it's what it was, right? In terms of messing around with lineups. I don't know if A&M's going to really take too kindly to being told they were, the opponent for an audition.
Well, I mean, you lose by 50 points. I think you kind of have to make. You kind of should be able to put 2 and 2 together.
That's probably true.
I would if I got my rear kicked like that after the game and they said they auditioned a few players. I don't know if I have a reasonable rebuttal.
That's fair. That's what I say. I mean, look, they
ought to audition that attitude to how to respond to getting it kicked like that.
Yeah, but it was
A&M should.
And yeah, 90 to 49, the final score last night. Look, they're going to be okay.
Yeah,
they're going to be okay. What it really looks like when it gets really tough, I don't know yet.
Still do a lot of great stuff, man, with their forwards.
But they're going to do fine in regular season conference play, and by the time that the bigger games come around, they should be quite comfortable in who they are again.
Oh, absolutely. And it's just going to look different. I think that's the thing too that I wanted to point out in that video. It might look different because Ashland's skill set's different than Sanaya's, than Chloe's. They are unique players, and Joyce. They're all very unique in their own, but they all still do a lot of the things that Ashland could do really well. Just defensively, you're maybe, not getting as many blocks per game or anything like that, but they still do a lot of stuff really well, man. They still rebound the ball really well. I think Joyce's 4 offensive rebounds is an underrated stat from yesterday. If you get her to be able to offensive rebound like that on a pretty consistent basis to that level, that's going to help make up for what you lose a little bit. I think Sanaya is a great defensive player too. You get her to defend like she has last 2 games consistently, you're going to be in really good shape. And even without arguably the best defensive players in the entire sport, you still held Texas A&M to .472 points per possession in the first half.
Yeah,
which is comical.
And again, the bench play was three players off the bench with double figures, and including Joyce, 19, who led the team. Malaysia's 17, second. Last night, Tessa Johnson had 11. Sanaya Fagan was the top scoring starter with 12. Chloe had 11. Bree had 10.
She had a 3.
Yeah, how about that? That was kind of cool. But Carolina shot better than 50% and held A&M to less than 29% 100% from the floor.
You're going to win a lot of games that way.
They'll have Texas coming up, and we'll have more on that for you next hour. Headlines of the day, including something very serious with a former SEC football player. We'll do that for you top of the hour when the postgame show returns.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents and traffic backups to report to you this afternoon, starting with an accident on Bickley Road at Broad River Road, causing some minor traffic backup, and one on US 176 at Broad River Road at Bush River Road. There are two disabled vehicles causing some issues on the roadways in regards to traffic. One over on I-26 eastbound at Airport Boulevard near exit 113, the other on 77 southbound at I-20 near exit 16.
It is 5 o'clock news time on this Friday. Welcome back in. It's also the final hour of the Postgame Show alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Thank you for being with us. Obviously, a different kind of day across the Midlands of South Carolina and potentially beyond with the weather situation being what it is. You've heard Elijah giving you some traffic info right now. Downtown Columbia area is in good shape. You know, not great shape, but good shape. But I know the outlying areas a little bit different, especially the points northwest of us. So do be careful out there if you are still on the road, especially as it gets dark. Going to start to get a little patchy and a little colder. But we'll keep you updated for the final hour that we are here. We'll start with some Gamecock football news for you. A really good pickup today in the transfer portal. Justin Okoronkwo, a linebacker from originally from Germany, but has been playing football the last 5 years, was a true freshman last year at Alabama, is now a Carolina Gamecock. He played in each of Alabama's games this past season. Wes Mitchell tells us mostly as a special teamer and a second-team guy on defense, 14 tackles and a tackle for loss this year. He grew up, as Wes tells us, with soccer, gymnastics, picked up football about 5 years ago, but was on an American camp circuit a couple of years ago, and people were like, dang, you can play.
You can play both types of football.
So he had originally been committed to Maryland, had offers from, amongst others, Michigan and Penn State, went to Alabama, and has now found a home here in Columbia, and apparently moved pretty quickly once things got going here in Columbia, which is great. That's the second big-time transfer linebacker Carolina has gotten. Sean Murphy from Florida State also had spent time at Alabama, is now a Gamecock. So Justin Okoronkwo, welcome to Columbia, young man. Basketball last night, South Carolina, no issues with Texas A&M, 90-49. The final score. We just heard a little bit from Elijah on some of what Carolina looks like. Let's hear a little bit from Coach Dawn Staley here. Cut number 16. Here's Coach Dawn on taking a look at her post players last night, now knowing that Ashlyn Watkins is done for the season.
I did. I think, it's going to be similar to that. I probably could have gotten Kima in the game a little bit sooner because she's just more experienced, but she's been out and Adele's been working. She's been working her butt off, so I wanted to give her the nod. So we put her into the first quarter, and I think Miriam is coming. There are spurts in which she looks pretty good, and then there's spurts where she looks rusty, and it's just all about getting her some valuable minutes. And tonight was a plus for us.
So Adele Tack last night had 5 minutes, no points. Miriam Dauda, who got mentioned there, 2 points in 9 minutes. And Sakima Walker, 4 points in 8 minutes. And those three players, for a variety of reasons we had talked about earlier in the week, Elijah, were the three players with the fewest minutes and the only players on the roster that had been averaging single-digit minutes per game. But again, some of it is injury. And as Brad Muller told us, some of it is quite honestly the depth chart. There's only, even with a team like this where you can play a lot of people, there's only so many, minutes to go around for the bigs when you've got a bunch of good ones already. So with one fewer, we'll learn a little bit more from this. But, Dawn seems pleased with what she's got. And, it's for most coaches in the country, it's an enviable task, right? Figuring out which, big-time prospect you need to fit back into the lineup.
Yeah, these are champagne problems that South Carolina has with this type of depth, right? And only 5 players can play at a time, so you're going to have some players get single-digit minutes or not really play at all. I think, listening to that press conference from yesterday too, Dawn, mentioned that, there's going to be some elevated roles for your Sanaya Fagans, Chloe Kitts, Joyce Edwards, but I think she really is aiming for one of those three between Sakima, Tack, and Dowda to really separate themselves enough to be able to give you an additional 12 to 15 minutes in a game.
Carolina has Texas coming up on Sunday. And by the way, stay tuned because in mere minutes, not right this second, But in mere minutes, you will have an opportunity to win a pair of tickets to Sunday afternoon's game.
Top 5 showdown.
Carolina and Texas. So, again, please stay tuned for that.
Game of the weekend in the sport.
Yeah. 12:30 airtime, by the way. Free plug.
Yeah.
For our station.
1 o'clock tip, just like tomorrow for the men's game. 12:30.
Speaking of tomorrow, cut number 9 on our list as we continue our integrated media headlines. The Auburn Tigers come into town as heavy favorites. Coach Lamont Paris on Carolina calls last night, giving us his scouting report of Bruce Pearl's Tigers.
And Coach Tanner Bronson always calls them the Noah's Ark team because they have 2 of everything.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. But there's no doubt that they're really confident. Extra confident. Whatever's the next thing beyond that.
Right. They don't mind wearing the black hat.
They sure don't.
Right.
Yeah. So, but anyway, they walk to walk. They talk to talk, and they've backed it up, and they've played well. And they're again, it's another very aggressive team. It's a very aggressive team. You got to be strong with the ball. I watched the Yale game from the tournament, from the NCAA tournament last year again, and one thing that really helped Yale was that they were in the bonus with 13 minutes left because Yale was really strong with the ball. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the difference between a foul and a steal is just how strong you are with the ball. And that's an area that we have to grow and improve, but there's no question as to how talented Auburn is.
1 o'clock tomorrow, and again, we will have more from Coach Paris, more from Elijah's breakdown of this one coming up for you in about 10 or 12 minutes, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, let me get to a very serious developing story. I don't want to say out of the Southeastern Conference, but it does involve a former LSU wide receiver, Kyron Lacey, and now multiple reports on this from Louisiana. But Kyron Lacey, the former LSU receiver who just finished his career this past season, now has an arrest warrant out for him. He's accused of causing a crash that killed a 78-year-old man. He's accused of fleeing the scene without rendering aid or calling authorities. The Louisiana State Police said this afternoon Lacey is charged with negligent homicide, felony hit and run, and reckless operation of a vehicle. According to a report that came down a little over an hour ago, the police have now said they have been in contact with Lacey and his attorney so he can turn himself in. I'll read verbatim here from a report from Mark Schleybaugh of ESPN. It says, according to a news release from state police, Lacey was allegedly driving a 2023 Dodge Charger on Louisiana Highway 20 and, quote, recklessly passed multiple vehicles at a high rate of speed by crossing the center line and entering the northbound lane while in a designated no passing zone. As Lacey was illegally passing the other vehicles, the driver of a northbound pickup truck abruptly braked and swerved to avoid a head-on collision with the approaching Dodge. Traveling behind the pickup was a 2017 Kia Cadenza whose driver swerved left to avoid the oncoming Dodge Charger. As the Kia took evasive action to avoid impact with the Dodge, it crossed into the center line and collided head-on with a southbound 2017 Kia Sorento, end quote from the report. The police also say that Lacey drove around the crash scene and fled without stopping to render aid, call emergency services, or report his involvement in the crash. Again, one person died at the hospital, a 78-year-old man named Herman Hall. 2 others in both of the vehicles that were involved beyond Lacey's sustained what the police say are moderate injuries. They have been released. Kyron Lacey is now 24 years old. No way to know at this point what this is going to look like for his future. But what a horrible story.
Yeah, an incredibly tragic story of...
And I try not to, just unnecessary, it would seem.
Oh, yeah. It seemed like a very avoidable accident. Sometimes accidents happen, and sometimes things happen that are beyond your control, but In this instance, it seems like there was a lot, very much so, in his control, and his actions resulted in the loss of a life in an unnecessary manner.
So we'll see how this one turns out in the coming days and weeks. But as of yet, I have not seen, and of course they're on Central Time, so it's a little past 4 o'clock in Baton Rouge. But I have not seen that he has turned himself in as of yet. But you would expect that to come at almost any moment. So, again, we'll keep an eye on that one. Continuing our integrated media headlines of the day, we mentioned this a little bit earlier as well, but if you haven't heard, former Georgia quarterback Carson Beck has indeed, as expected, committed to and now enrolled, or at least signed, with the University of Miami. I don't know when their school starts, but the reports today from Pete Thamel and others say that not only has he committed to Miami, but that he has signed his paperwork and is now a University of Miami student, and he'll have one season left. Elijah and I talked about this earlier. Again, reports from our buddy Seth Emerson suggested that, once Beck had initially decided to go to the draft and had told Kirby Smart that Georgia was prepared to move on. It would seem that between surgery, which was going to hamper his tryouts, I mean, basically the only thing you'd be able to do in any kind of pro days or any kind of private workouts with NFL teams is just show them your film and talk to them. And they're going to want to work you out. And that's, I think he understands that, and once I guess he had the surgery, he was told you'll be ready to throw around March. But now, again, throwing one-on-one, he might be able to do some things by the draft in late April if he wanted to be able to throw in, say, mid-April. But by then, as an NFL team, really, teams, are they really getting a solid throwing evaluation from you? No, they're not. No. And so I think basically Carson and his family realized at that point, all right, I need to play another year of college football.
Especially since the year that he had, the tape that's out there isn't the best tape he's put.
Right. Going into the season, he was actually more highly rated than coming out of the season. And everybody gets it. He gets it. So, again, we're not sitting here ragging on the kid. Some people might. I'm not doing that.
No.
The season is what it was. And Georgia still won the Southeastern Conference, so there's that.
I think he made a wise decision, too. Yeah. I mean, reportedly, this deal is going to be up to $4 million for 1 year of his services. And if he was drafted outside the first round, like, for example, Will Levis for the Titans this year made about $950,000.
That's crazy.
This year as a second-round pick in the last year of – no, it's next to last year, really, of his contract. Because it's, 3 years. But $950,000 compared to $4 million. I'm going to take $4 million, please.
Yes.
So I don't blame him there. But one thing that is crazy, the more I've thought about it ever since he entered his name into the portal, say Quinn Ewers has had a similar year. Disappointing. His stock is lower now than it was at the beginning of the year. Threw a lot of interceptions. Hasn't put the best tape out there. His successor is already there at Texas. Arch Manning will be the starting quarterback for the Longhorns next year. If he decides not to go into the draft and utilize his last year of eligibility, he will also have to hit the transfer portal. So it's one of those things that think back about in July and think about what you would have thought if I from the future came back in time and told you that Quinn Ewers and Carson Beck would both be in the transfer portal and not in the NFL draft at the end of the season. How crazy would you have looked at?
Yeah. That is funny that you put it that way, but that's and again, how much does the money in college have to do with that too? Not just
and keeping these guys around,
right? Yeah. But again, Carson Beck headed to the U next season, and his girlfriend's down there, so that's nice.
That's right. Yeah, somebody joked on Twitter, Miami fan clearly said, does the other Cavender twin have any interest in dating Jeremiah Smith?
If she does, then she might need to move to Columbus.
Yeah, I don't think he's leaving.
I don't think he's leaving Ohio State.
No, they ain't letting him leave.
No, if it was the Dolphins, but
yeah, he would relocate for the Miami Dolphins, but he's not draft eligible for another 2 whole football seasons.
Can't do that yet. That's our integrated media headlines of the day, 803-948-8327 for all your home theater needs, and for the brand new Pro Swing, call Integrated Media. All right, right now, though, you need to call 803-404-6100. Caller 5, you're going to Carolina, Texas. Top 5 women's basketball matchup Sunday afternoon. Caller 5, 803-404-6100. Carolina, Texas. Good luck. Welcome back into the Postgame Show. Jay and Elijah with you. Who are we congratulating that's going to a big-time women's basketball game on Sunday?
Big shout-out. Jay Parler.
All right. Way to go, Jay Parler.
You got 2 tickets to Paradise, and by that I mean CLA.
Nice. Matinee.
Yeah. Don't pack your bags to leave tonight because the game's not tonight, nor is it tomorrow, but it is on Sunday.
No, tomorrow is Carolina and Auburn in men's basketball. And while I expect Sunday's game to be competitive, sorry, Carolina fans, y'all know how I am as a lifer, but when I call them like I see them, and I got to, I'm trying to find ways. I'll kind of do what I did with Wednesday night's game against Alabama, Elijah Campbell, as I toss over to you for a couple things, and we got a couple of cuts from Lamont Paris that we'll get to. What's the formula for South Carolina to have this game close? Again, single-digit-ish margin at the under 8 timeout of the second half.
The biggest thing, because there's not a lot of avenues to be completely transparent here. This Auburn team is the best team in the country, and I think they are easily the best team in all of college basketball. But if you want to have a chance in this game, you got to utilize at least the one thing that you do well offensively as it pertains to the 4 factors of winning basketball games that you do as well as anybody in the country, and that's get to the free throw line. They are 9th in free throw rate, South Carolina is, so they do get to the free throw line frequently, but it hasn't done them any good the last 2 games because of when they got to the free throw line, right? The first free throw that they shot against Alabama was Colin Murray Boyles at the 4:22 mark of the first half. That means the first 15 and a half minutes of the game, you did not get to the free throw line. Now, you were able to get to the free throw line more later in the game, but the game at that point was already a 15 to 20-point game. You got to be able to establish those drives and get to the free throw line much earlier in this game, because if you get down 20 and then start getting to the free throw line, it's not going to do you any good to score points with the clock stopped. At that point, all you're doing is putting lipstick on a pig. You got to be able to keep yourself in the game by attacking the rim and using Auburn's aggressiveness against them. Because here's the thing about Auburn. They do rank 245th in the country in opponent free throw rate. They will send you to the line if you let them, because you know what they love doing? They love blocking shots. They're 6th in the country in block shot rate. 6th, actually 4th, mind you, defensive, 6th in offensive. So they don't get their shots blocked, and they block a lot of shots. They love to jump at head fakes. They want to swat that basketball into the 6th row and hit an innocent bystander. That's what they want to do. They want to beat you and humiliate you. You got to be able to use that against them. Utilize some pump fakes, draw some body contact, get your rear to the free throw line, and then score some points with the clock stopped and make them have to dual foul trouble, right? You heard the clip earlier where Lamont referred to Tanner Bronson, assistant coach, talking to Auburn, calling them the Noah's Ark team because they have 2 of everything. Well, that's correct. Janai Broome is the Naismith Player of the Year, front runner for it. If the season ended today, he's your winner as a big. And they also have Dylan Cardwell at center, who will start with him also at 6'11" and make 67% of his shots around the basket. Oh, he can play make a little bit as well. They've got 3 different perimeter scorers with Denver Jones, Miles Kelly, and Chad Baker-Mazzara. 2 of those fellas are shooting at least 42% from 3. So they're threats to knock down shots from beyond the arc. Tahad Pettiford at guard makes 42% of his 3-point shots. They don't beat themselves, and they do a really good job of making you incredibly uncomfortable. The one thing that you have that when you look at this game on paper is get to the free throw line, which we know you can do, because you've done it as good as anybody in this country. Yep. And you got to do it before the game's out of reach, because in the last 2 games, in the Mississippi State game too, you didn't have many free throws in the first half, and we all know what that game was looking like 10 minutes in. You got to be able to get to the free throw line with the game still competitive.
You mentioned Broome, who is just phenomenal to use that word. Leads Auburn in scoring, rebounding, blocks, and as a big, assists.
He is
as well.
A legitimate playmaker. Yeah,
he is so good. Give me cut 2 real quick. Here's Coach Paris talking about Janai Broome, the Auburn superstar.
And sometimes that can be even more challenging just because they can oftentimes affect the game in more ways. As rebounders, he's a good passer, and he's a really good defender. He's a very smart defender. He's nimble, he's agile, he's long, but he's very intelligent defender. So the only thing is with some of the perimeter guys, the ball gets in their hands pretty quickly, and with some of these bigger guys, they typically need somebody to get the ball to them. But there's no doubt how good of a player he is, and then even for a good player, he's having a tremendous year, even amongst the good players that are out there. So be another good challenge for us and our interior guys in particular. But we're looking forward to the opportunity on Saturday.
He also makes 56%, better than 56% of his field goals. Not a great free throw shooter, but you know what? Somebody's got to have a weakness somewhere along the way.
Yeah, but he does make 2-point shots more at a better rate than he does his free throws by 1 percentage point.
It's crazy.
63 to 62. But as good as he is, and again, if we had the vote for the Naismith, I know personally, or if I had my vote for the Oscar Robertson right now, he's number 1 on the ballot.
Yeah.
That's how good of a player he is. But listen to this, Jay. College Basketball Analytics put out a tweet yesterday where they had about they marked the 15 best 3-man combinations in terms of net rating in the entire SEC.
Okay.
Auburn had 3 of the top 6 3-man combinations in terms of net rating. Would you like to guess how many of those 3 included Janai Broome?
All of them.
None of them.
Oh, my God.
None of them, Jay Phillips. None of them. Because Miles Kelly was on all 3.
Yeah.
Denver Jones was on 2 of those 3.
Okay.
Dylan Cardwell was on 2 of those 3. And Chad Baker-Mazzara was on 2 of those 3. It was a combination of those 4 guys made up 3 of the top 6 most efficient 3-man combinations in the SEC.
Wow.
And that's before adding Janai Broome.
So their best player isn't on any of those.
Correct.
Wow. They're scary good, man. I mean,
that's how good this team is.
And many of you have seen it. You saw last year. Look, I know people will say, how'd they lose to Yale? Because Auburn didn't show up that day.
Oh, you know who Yale's center is or was on that team?
It's the kid that you told me.
7-foot Danny Wolf, who is the starting point guard for Michigan and is the lead to be the Big Ten player. That guy.
And and they were good. I mean, I'm not taking anything from Yale. That was fun
Yale
to
was
watch.
Really good. That's why they lost to Yale.
But Auburn, and Bruce can say whatever. I know remember in post game, he was like, "Oh no, my guys showed up." No, not coach.
Well, Chad Baker-Mazzara got himself ejected the first 2 minutes of that game.
Yeah, that little coming down the sideline and a little John and then a little, and oh no, I didn't really hit. Yeah, you did, man. You hauled off and you whacked him right in the face. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, Auburn was a nightmare for most teams, and certainly in the 2 games where South Carolina. What was the combined margin of victory in those 2 games? 50 points, 60 points. It was the game. The game in Auburn was especially
the game in Auburn
distressing.
Was heinous on Valentine's Day, no less. That was a 40-point game, 101 to 61.
Okay.
In the SEC tournament, it was a 31-point game.
So 70.
Yeah,
70 combined.
And then, of course, the year before that, Janai Broome's first year at Auburn, they came here to CLA and won 81-66.
Yeah. I don't know. Look, a combined, so let's say 35-point average margin of victory last season. Sounds about right.
It's tough
tomorrow.
sledding.
I mean, I don't know. Again, there's ways. There's ways.
I've seen stranger things happen.
Sure. But as we sit here and scout it, you try to find where, and it's difficult. Tomorrow, 1:00, Carolina and Auburn will have it for you beginning at 12:30 across the Gamecock Radio Network, including right here in Columbia. Derek Scott, Judge Casey Manning on the call. Drive around the SEC on the other side. You're listening to the Postgame Show.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. Thankfully, with very few accidents to report, just 2 accidents this afternoon that are causing some traffic backups. One on Bickley Road at Broad River Road, the other at US 176 at Broad River Road at Bush River Road. We do have a pair of disabled vehicles causing some traffic backups on their own, one on 26 eastbound over at Airport Boulevard near exit 113, the other being at 77 southbound at I-20 near exit 16.
It is Drive Around the SEC time here on this Friday. Welcome back in. Let me tell you, at the end of this Drive Around the SEC segment, which is going to be in about 10 minutes or so, we're going to give you another opportunity to win a pair of tickets to Sunday afternoon's Carolina-Texas women's basketball game. A bonus pair just flew right into the studio.
The devil works hard. The ticket fairy works harder.
Look at that. So,
much harder.
For those of you who are like, man, I know I was close to being caller 5 just a little while ago, and you probably were. Well, now you have one more chance.
Redemption.
We're all about second chances around here. Love, second chances.
Hope.
Village Idiot Pizza.
Dangles on a string, like slow spinning redemption.
Look at that. You get philosophical on me, man.
That's Dashboard Confessional. You weren't, it was after your time. Probably a little too angsty for you.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know if you're emo enough for that type of mess.
I'm not. I can tell you, even from the original type of that kind of stuff. Like I'm not like the Seattle grunge thing. You know, all that angst.
Oh, buddy, this is about 15 years after that.
Yeah, I get you, but I'm just saying. Yeah, I'm like there's enough real anger. I don't need to like go seek it out through music.
Oh, buddy, I grew up through that.
Oh, a lot of people.
That's
did.
the good stuff.
A lot of people did. I got no problem with it, mind you. I'm not here. Again, you like what you like. You be you. We talked about Gwar not recently, but last year. And I was like, hey, if that's your thing.
Hey, that was a fun episode.
It was
show. That was good.
And we had to make it like PG-13.
We couldn't go into as much detail as I would have preferred to go into detail.
Me too. There was a couple things I wanted to get to.
Yeah, a couple of topics we loved. It would have been perfect podcast topics.
Sure,
but we do have to abide by some FCC guidelines.
Or just, what the boss says.
Yeah, true.
Boo.
Yeah. Make that a scapegoat.
That guy.
Terry.
Where's he? He's not even here.
Who knows?
He
could be anywhere.
I know. Especially on a Friday.
Bad news for the town. Terry Ford is out and about.
Drive around the SEC time. Once again, if you didn't hear, Carson Beck is going to the University of Miami. I know that's not a SEC school, but he's leaving Georgia.
Yes.
So there's that.
Exiting an SEC school.
But he is going in. Basketball. And by the way, we'll have the EBPI chances for Carolina in just a second as we run down the rest of the weekend. Oklahoma at Georgia. Georgia coming off a very nice win at home over Kentucky, while Oklahoma had an 18-point lead at home over A&M and lost by 2. LSU going to Ole Miss. Ole Miss just beat Arkansas. Florida's going to Arkansas. Expect how good is Arkansas this year? I can look at their record, but you look into a little bit more of this. I mean, we know who's coaching them. We know he got a couple of transfers.
Would it surprise me to tell you this is a very talented roster that has underachieved greatly because they have no direction on offense, and that this team is coached by John Calipari?
No. So
insert every analysis you've ever had of the last 7 Kentucky basketball teams, and it fits this Arkansas team like a glove.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, it's the same. I almost kind of got sick of watching Ole Miss Arkansas when I went back and watched that, and I was like, yeah, this is the same. Yeah, I mean, you could take the uniforms off these guys, make them wear white shirts and blue jeans, and I'm like, that's a John Calipari coach team. Don't even need a name on the back of the jersey or the front for me to be able to identify you.
Any kind of trap there for Florida, though?
Always a trap, yeah, for a team, especially like Florida, as good as they are. This is there's a difference between Florida and Auburn, right? Even Florida and Tennessee, in a sense of Tennessee has been at this level for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. Auburn's been at this level for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. Alabama's been at this level for a couple of years now. Mm-hmm. This is the year that Florida made the jump. Mm-hmm. A lot of these guys, really with the exception of Elijah Martin, have not made a significant run in March or been on teams that have been this successful. And even Elijah Martin was on a team last year at Florida Atlantic that had one of the worst Final Four hangovers in the sport's recent memory, right? I mean, they completely fell apart last year after going to the Final Four as a Conference USA school. So it's one of those, there's the possibility of a hangover and a letdown. But on paper, Florida should beat them because they are just a significantly better basketball team right now.
So those are the first of a few good ones, but then we have better ones beyond that, at least in my opinion. I'll start with Alabama going to A&M. Again, Buzz Williams' team with a really nice victory in Norman. Bama has looked great in their first couple of all games. Obviously, we saw what they did against South Carolina the other night. Sears is one of the best players in the country. It's not the toughest place to go win in terms of the venue, the gym, but it is a tough style of basketball to play against.
Yeah, this is a fun matchup because it's two of the best rebounding teams in all college basketball, specifically on the offensive end. Alabama ranking 18th in the country in offensive rebounding, and of course Texas A&M is at number 1, grabbing 44.5% of their offensive boards. I feel so bad for Oklahoma because the tape that they had, those tape sessions they probably had to sit through of where they got out rebounded. Oklahoma right now is the worst in SEC play defensive rebounding team. That's not going to stand because their first games were against Alabama and Texas A&M. So good luck keeping those dudes off the glass. This is going to be an absolute brawl on the boards in this game. It's going to be
fun. Tennessee going to Texas.
Rick Barnes Bowl.
Tennessee not feeling good about itself after the other day at Florida. Texas is There's a solid team.
That's a great roster. Yeah. And Trey Johnson's the best freshman in college basketball no one's talking about. Trey Johnson's a kid that is going to be, I would say, either a late lottery or late first pick in the NBA draft in the first round this year. One of the best shot makers, a 40% three-point shooter, one of the better mid-range shooters in the game right now, and he's 6'6" with incredibly long arms, and he can create his own shot. Arthur Kaluma's played a whole lot of basketball. Caden Shedrick's played a whole lot of college basketball. They absolutely did a fantastic job getting players from the portal.
Right.
A few guys from Indiana State, that Indiana State team last year that was really good. They're still trying to piece some things together. They weren't very competitive in the first 25 to 30 minutes of that Auburn game. But in the last 10 minutes,
they came around.
They showed you in that last 10 minutes what they are offensively.
Yeah, I thought they played that. I mean, we talked about it on Wednesday on this show.
I don't think it was Auburn letting up. It was Texas making shots. I thought they played well.
Yeah, I thought they played well. But they also, Texas lost by 20 at A&M in their conference opener. Tennessee does have the computer advantage in this one, about a 58% chance to win it. That one tomorrow night. And finally, Kentucky going to Mississippi State. Kentucky again losing to Georgia the other day. State strong, big, long, athletic. They have started off 2-0 in conference play. I feel like State's gonna take this one, but Kentucky better bounce back pretty quick, huh?
I love this Kentucky team. I think aesthetically, it's one of the most fun teams in college basketball to watch, especially on offense. They run beautiful offense. If you love backdoor cuts and a Princeton-style offense, this Kentucky team is a match made in heaven for you. Don't ask me how they are defensively because the answer is not very good. And this is the best offensive Mississippi State team in a decade. Maybe. I mean, Josh Hubbard's really good. I can't remember the last time a Mississippi State team ranked inside the top 20 in Ken Palm's offensive efficiency.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time that was the case.
Yeah.
It's very rare. And right now they're at 17, and they're a top 26 defensive unit. At the hump, I think a team as physical as Mississippi State and as good as they are defensively at dictating where you're running your offense is going to make that really hard for Kentucky. And if you're into the whole gambling thing, I think I would take Mississippi State minus whatever points it is.
Let's see if I can find that for you right now. I've got actually they have no line.
The KenPom line is actually 6. KenPom has them beating Kentucky by 6 points, and a lot of sports books mirror their lines from KenPom or Torvik.
If for whatever reason they do not have a betting line on what I am looking at here,
Which is dumb. They come out so late.
Yeah, they don't have it
very late.
Looking.
Very seldomly outside of 24 hours do they have lines for these games.
That's a late game too. Well,
Which
it's a
is dumb.
7:30 Central Time tip in Starkville tomorrow night. So there you go. And we'll come back around. We didn't get to it's my fault. We didn't get to the EBPI percentage chance for South Carolina tomorrow. What do you think?
That's going to be 9%.
Okay, that's not good.
This Auburn team is really, really good. I think that's. If you're a South Carolina fan, you're watching this game tomorrow, look for subtle improvements. Look for, try to see if you can get a higher assist rate than you did the last game, if you can cut down the turnovers, if you can do some of the little things that will eventually lead to winning down the road. That's what you're looking for. Do not expect them to go in there and win this game. And if they win this game, it's a massive upset.
Absolutely.
But, look for improvement. I think that's one thing you should really watch for some improvement. That's what you would like to see here in a game of this magnitude.
EBPI 9%, the ESPN BPI, which is not the same, 10.5%. So a little bit
copying
better.
me.
All right, caller 5, 803-404-6100, 803-404-6100. Caller 5, you get a pair of tickets. Carolina, Texas women's basketball top 5 matchup on Sunday. Good luck. 10 minutes in front of 6 o'clock on this Friday evening. Welcome back into the Postgame Show. Jay and Elijah with you. Final few minutes for us. Again, I know traffic is significantly lighter than normal on a Friday afternoon in downtown Columbia. Downtown traffic is good. Road conditions look pretty good, for at least what we can see. Now it's dark outside, but it's not been bad in the city today.
Yeah, I didn't inherit my dad's asphalt expertise. He was a certified microsurfacing asphalt expert for the state of Tennessee and was an engineer there for 35 years. I don't have that. Did not inherit the love for math or asphalt and roads. So I can't tell you maybe the same way he could, but they look good to me. And the traffic report isn't.
Well, you and I are like Ollie.
Scary.
You know, it's Ollie. What's the weather? It's raining.
It's raining. That's my expertise.
Hey, look at that.
That's where it begins and ends.
So there you go. But in all seriousness, especially those of you in the outer areas, the burbs and beyond the burbs, be careful. And tonight, seriously, it's going to freeze over. And all these wet roads will get slick. It's going to be, what is the low tonight?
I think 26 was what I saw earlier. Yeah. And then, but here's the thing. It'll get up to 40 by 11 tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow you should be fine.
So if you're going to the game tomorrow.
And you should.
The roads will be a lot better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. By lunchtime tomorrow, the skies should be clear. The roads, again, could be a little wet, but should not be frozen.
Yes. So the leaves may be brown. The sky will not be gray.
Use caution. That's right. Good song. Good pull.
Ah, I love that song.
Jalen Hurts has been cleared to play on Sunday against the Green Bay Packers. And he's going to play.
He is going to play.
He had a concussion.
He's going to score a rushing touchdown if you want to put that in your prize picks lineup.
And I know Jordan Love was listed yesterday, at least, as questionable. He's also going to play.
Yeah, not so questionable. I have an answerable to that questionable.
Yeah, he'll play.
Playing.
Yeah, he'll play. I'm just, I hope my Broncos can get something done, man.
I got a stat that will make you feel better about your chances.
Okay.
I don't know how official this stat is, but
did you make it up or did you get it from somebody else?
I got it from the internet, from Twitter.
Oh, good.
This is a very unofficial one. Yeah. That apparently.
I love internet stats.
Yes, absolutely. But apparently, this is floating around there. I've not had a chance to verify this.
Okay.
But apparently, from some sources, Sean Payton is 30-12 in his career against bald head coaches. Sean McDermott is a bald head coach. Do you feel better about your chances? Because I think I do. Maybe I regret taking the Bills and the points yesterday. Maybe I'm regretting that now.
30-12 is a solid. That's solid.
That is some real dominance against the NFL's follically impaired brethren.
Well, here's hoping.
Dangles on a string.
Here's hope.
Slow spinning redemption.
The Broncos have been good offensively. Nix has had a really solid rookie season. His coach has put him in good positions. I like what Sutton and Mims provide him. Denver runs okay. But they also, as I've told you many times this week, Denver leads the league offensively, and it's a dubious statistic in 3-and-outs on offense. They go 3-and-out more than any other team in the NFL this season.
2 thumbs down.
And that's just not good. Again, you don't always have to even score on those drives. You just need to hold on to the ball and get a couple of more first downs. Stay on the field, if you will. Denver does lead the league in a good way in sacks. Defensive numbers are very good across the board. But you're playing Josh Allen at home in the playoffs.
He's good.
And he's doing all right. Yeah, he's doing all right. He just because you think he might be the MVP doesn't make him great. No, I'm kidding. Now he's going to be.
Bad players don't win the MVP.
No, they don't. And it's going to be him or Lamar, right? Again, the votes are in. You and I don't vote on that one.
No, we don't have voting power on that one.
Yeah, I don't cover the NFL, so they don't let me. I can pay attention to the NFL, but I do not cover the NFL.
Yeah, professionally, we cover college sports.
Right. So they do let me vote for that Heisman thing. And you have the Oscar Robertson Award vote for basketball. I have a Wooden Award vote.
Card-carrying member of the Basketball Writers Association.
I forgot to pay my dues, and so they kicked me out.
Boo.
Well, what are you going to do?
broke boy behavior there.
Thanks again to Langston Moore for joining us today. We always appreciate his time. Enjoy all of the football this weekend tonight. Who you got, by the way? I got Ohio State.
I got Ohio State covering. I think they probably won by 10.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Texas can't settle for field goals tonight.
I like I told you, if Texas hangs around, it's because they got to get it. They got to be +2, I think, in turnovers. A lot of good NFL stuff for you, and please, please, please be safe on the roads tonight. We will see y'all on Monday.